news, breaking news, some new bombshell information out about the shooter of Charlie Kirk. This is a shot outside the jail where the shooter is at. Utah County Jail, where he's held without bonds. But some breaking stuff has come out, folks. Come on in. We're going to talk about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, and it is being revealed that he lived in an apartment with a transgender partner. Oh boy, Fox News is breaking it. A Fox News reporter, Brooke Singman, put out a tweet just about an hour ago, and now media outlets are starting to put the information out. Apparently, Tyler lived with a transgender partner. Tyler lived with a transgender partner, a man transitioning to be a woman. Now, if this is true, this probably is the motive here on why Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. And it appears, based off the affidavit and the rest, the court record that we saw, this is probably the individual, the partner that Tyler was communicating with after committing the crime. Come on in, folks. Come on in. This is the jail where he's held at. Charges are expected to be formally announced and processed on Tuesday. He could be in court on Tuesday afternoon, possibility. But yeah, Brooke Singman, who is a reporter for Fox News, says Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson lived with his transgender partner. Sources tell me the individual, who is male transitioning to female, is fully cooperating with the FBI. Now check this out. She goes on to say, we're going to put his photo also on the right, Tyler. Sources tell me the FBI had texts and communications between Robinson and this transgender partner that helped authorities solidify that Robinson was indeed the shooter. Oh boy. Folks, we've already heard about the writings on the casings, right? Antifa writings, Antifa anthem on there, the 3 arrows pointed down, which is clearly a Antifa logo. But now he's living with a transgender. He's living with a man transitioning to be a female. I want to remind the viewers, the last question that Charlie Kirk answered before he was murdered. Do you remember what transpired there before the fatal shot? I want to go over that. The question was asked, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Charlie replied, too many. He was then asked, do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Charlie responded, counting or not counting gang violence. Charlie was then assassinated by the shooter, Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson. The shooter was living with a transgender in an apartment. Now, folks, as we were watching yesterday, we got his photo up. Public awareness. As we were watching the FBI raid at his parents' home, where they took the Challenger, the murder vehicle, we'll say the escape vehicle, the vehicle used to go travel 4 hours to go assassinate Charlie Kirk and then head back in his parents' driveway. They were also raiding an apartment complex in St. George. They were also raiding an apartment complex that he lived at with his transgender partner. We don't know the name of the transgender partner at this time. The transgender partner is fully cooperating. He was living in the Fountain Heights apartment complex. Fountain Heights, which was in St. George, the town right by Washington City, Utah, where his parents lived. He also lived with his parents, too. He went back and forth. But it appears that within the last year, he got a new apartment and moved in with his partner. They use the word partner. But we know that partner means boyfriend, girlfriend. It was a male, according to Fox News, and now the New York Post has put out an article on it. It was a male transitioning to be a female. Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin, Tyler Robinson, lived with transgender partner. He was in the process of transitioning from male to female. That individual, who has yet to be identified by authorities, is now fully cooperating with the FBI on its investigation into the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk. Text messages and other communications that the transgender individual traded with Robinson, 22 years old, helped the feds nab the assassin. Federal and state authorities revealed during a press conference on Friday that a roommate was cooperating with the investigation. Revealed communications from a contact named Tyler that described bullet casings similar to those found at the scene, and discussed the need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point. As we know, with this crime, it has been revealed that after the guy that you see here, the assassin, his life in prison is going to be in. Whew, I don't know what's going to happen to this guy. I think they're going to be doing a teleconference, by the way, when he goes to court. I don't think they're bringing him into court. But, oh, my goodness. And then there's some talks like some high-profile people might be going to his court hearing. Some people speculated that Donald Trump would go, but I don't think he would go to his court hearing. Look at that. Look at that. Right here, we pinned in the comment. Sky. Remember Sky? Valadez? Remember Sky? Sky was a account that we covered during the course of this, the manhunt for the killer at the time before Robinson was caught. But this Sky Valadez individual was saying he hopes that Charlie evaporates. If you got that tweet, throw that up there, Magnolia. The great Magnolia running the stream as always, and said something big was going to happen to Charlie Kirk. Well, that individual ended up having their account suspended. That individual ended up putting out something on Instagram saying, "I'm not the shooter." But a lot of people speculate that this individual was involved. That's Najjes. The Sky one is the Skylar one that you were talking about was actually, I'm confused here because there was two incidents. The other one was about writing the song about Charlie Kirk dead at 31 or some sort of lyrics like that. This was another one. Could it be this one? There was two of them. Sky Valadez and the other one. So the other one was the one that wrote on social media something bad had happened. Sky, still confusing because there's so many of them out there. So I apologize for that. Could it be one of the two there? Two of those individuals. Who's the transgender roommate? Now, before I came on here, I can't find any connection whatsoever as far as the public databases with Tyler here connected with that address at the apartment complex they're raiding. But it makes me wonder, particularly about this person or others. Remember, maybe if this report is true by Fox News, and Fox News is putting their neck out there. I don't think Fox News is going to be putting the fake news as if this is not true. I haven't seen Fox News as putting out blatantly fake news. I mean, they're literally saying that Tyler Robinson lived with a transgender partner. Now, that transgender partner could have had ties to here, to Sky Valadez, or the other one that said that something bad is going to happen to Charlie Kirk or somebody, because it's like a network. A lot of the trans hang out together in groups, right? Friends. How wide is this plot? You know, the Sun reported yesterday that there was a possible accomplice, but they didn't name names, and it was really only the Sun that came out with that article. There's really only the Sun that came out with that, but they were talking about another accomplice. Now, at this time, nobody else has been arrested. It's only him. But what are they going to find in these apartments? What are they going to find in his home? What are they going to find in the Dodge Challenger that has been seized? We watched it live yesterday. But it makes you wonder. Last question about trans shooters, right? Mass shooters. And, you know, Charlie, it probably that question. Now, a lot of people are saying about the question, the person that asked the question should be fully vetted. That person come out and said, I asked the question, was crying, said, I don't support Charlie Kirk being shot. However, some people think like it was planned to ask that specific question to gaslight Charlie to respond about transgender, so then the person can make that shot. But really, I mean, Charlie Kirk was asked about transgender Americans. And he said in the last 2 years, how many transgenders have been mass shooters in the last 2 years, 10 years? And he said too many. Probably at that point, the shooter, like, that's it. Locked and loaded, I'm doing it. You follow what I mean? Because then, you know, another question was asked, and then boom, assassinated. The shooter has a transgender partner, according to Fox News. Hello? Seems like the motive to me. Seems like the motive to me. I put out a tweet yesterday because, you know, let's be real, folks. This guy's family seem like they're conservative. His mom and dad. Matt and Amber seems like he comes from a conservative family. But it appears something happened to him in the course of his education. Just like I've seen with others. There was another case that we covered months back. Cooper Joe Frederick. He was one of those Tesla bombers. Remember a few months ago, Tesla, there was a bunch of fire bombings at different Teslas, and they were rounding up people and arrested. They arrested like 7 of them federally. But one of them was from Colorado. His name is Cooper Joe Frederick. And believe it or not, you know, he firebombed. He was, I don't know his actual age. I think he was in his early 20s. His parents are avid Trump supporters. His parents are conservatives. Yet, something happened to this young man, to compel him to go at Trump and Elon Musk, the Tesla. It was all in defiance of the Doge. It was all in defiance of the Trump administration. It was all in defiance of Elon Musk. And I'm seeing similarities here in a sense of kids growing up in conservative households, conservative values, but something happens when they go to either high school or college. I feel like indoctrination, some teachings in them just twists their mind and radicalizes them, and then turns them into way far left extreme. Way far left extreme. And I believe that's what happened here with this individual. I do believe that he grew up conservative. Hunting. Families are Republicans, registered Republicans. He's unaffiliated. think this issue needs to be addressed, because I'm not saying that someone should be conservative or Republican. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is something happened in this guy's mind to click and tell and go contrary to what his growing up and his upbringing is. I know lots of Democrats and Republicans are peaceful people. Lots of Democrats, lots of Republicans, lots of independents. But there's extremes. And I'm seeing a growing and alarming pattern of indoctrination starting in the universities and high school. Because consider this with this terrible, terrible tragedy. How many professors have we seen? How many teachers have we seen? How many school employees have we seen in the last 48 hours that got publicly shamed because when they heard that Charlie Kirk got assassinated, they're celebrating? It was quite a few of them. It was a lot of them. It's all over the country. These teachers. Whoa. Is this the roommate? Here we go. Daily Mail. Bombshell. Look at this. This has brought, listen, I'm looking at this for the very first time. The great Magnolia found it. Introducing Lance Twiggs, a 22-year-old wannabe professional gamer who lived with Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin, gave cops incriminating text messages leading to his arrest. I introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, to Lance Twiggs, turned over Tyler Robinson, who lived with him in a 3-bedroom apartment in St. George. Whoa, we got the name. I was like, before I came on live, I was like, who's the transgender roommate? And I couldn't find any information. Magnolia found it. And kudos to the Daily Mail, because it appears like the Daily Mail has officially broke this as far as the mainstream media. I'm sure other people have been talking about it. Lance. His name is Lance. Now I'm going to do some background on him while we're live. Lance Twiggs. It's an interesting name. Lance Twiggs. Huh? Wow. Everything is coming out. We knew it was all going to come out. Lance Twiggs. His partner. All right, so I'm going to read this article. I'm going to keep this up and read this article and see what it says while we're online. I'm getting this information for the first time. They lived together in a 3-bedroom apartment in St. George, near his parents' homes. Parents lived by Washington City, in Washington City. Twiggs showed police texts from Robinson about stashing a gun linked to the Wednesday shooting of a prominent conservative, which is Charlie Kirk, at Utah Valley University. His identity was revealed as separate reports emerged from Fox and the New York Post, which state that Robinson was living with a transgender partner who is now cooperating with investigators. It is unclear if Twiggs is the same person referenced in the report, and he has not been named in the affidavit. His grandfather, Jerry Twiggs, told the Daily Mail that he was unable to comment on rumors. Why can't you comment on the rumors? If it's not true, just say no. The grandfather told the Daily Mail, her grandfather, I don't want to comment on that. I'm not sure what his situation is exactly right now. But Jerry also confirmed his grandson had been talking with police, but he has not spoken to his grandson since. Somebody said Lance Tifa. Lance Tifa. Lance Tifa. His name is Lance. Dun, 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 dun. Breaking news. The roommate of Tyler Robinson, the assassin, has been revealed. After he was with the police, he's been at his house, and there's no way for us to contact him other than going over there, the grandfather says. Authorities have not yet confirmed the identity or the motive, but Utah Governor Spencer Cox told the Wall Street Journal that Robinson was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. South Utah native Twigs, name is Twigs, studied at Utah Tech University, according to his Facebook page. Has he got a Facebook? Lance Twigs. I'm going to look for his Facebook. Stay with me. I'm going to look around for his Facebook. Maybe we can get his Facebook up and see more photos. Lance Twigs. Shooter's roommate. Yeah, I found it. It's interesting. On his profile, it says, "Did you pray today?" Interesting. Yeah, we're gonna get this up soon. Let's send this over to Magnolia. We're digging in on Lance Twigs, the roommate, who is now cooperating with authorities. Lance Twigs. This is the roommate. Transgender. He goes to Utah Tech University. And just like Robinson, he's a gamer. Posting shooting game videos on a TikTok account with the bio, "Becoming TikTok pros, one terrible video at a time." He posted himself on social media playing popular video games, including Apex Legends and Rocket League. Other comical videos the roommate has shared include adding spaghetti to an Italian sandwich and microwaving a bottle of Mountain Dew. Here's what they say to the Daily Mail. Friends told Daily Mail that Robinson and Twigs were part of a large group chat of dozens of gamer friends, mostly from Robinson's high school that he went to, called Pine View High School, and hosted an online chat network on Discord. Robinson's alleged incriminating texts to Twigs were also sent on Discord, according to the affidavit filed Friday. Here's what they say. A neighbor of their apartment where they lived together, these two, they lived together. Twigs, Lance Twigs. Some people said AKA Lance Tifa, Lance Twigs, and Tyler Robinson. A neighbor by the name of Cable Phillips said police arrived at their two-story housing complex around 5:30 a.m. on Friday and cordoned off the area. We're at the jail right now. We're at the jail. Here's some photographs. We'll keep this up here of Tyler and his partner, Lance Twigs. Lance Twigs. We're discussing Lance Twigs and information, but according to a neighbor in their apartment complex, authorities arrived during the early morning hours, 5:30 a.m. Lance Twigs. Early morning hour, 5:30 a.m. on Friday, and blocked off their apartment. Wow. We got some bombshell breaking news here. It's all coming together, folks. What do you think the motive is? his partner, we'll say girlfriend, boyfriend that he lived with is trans. Trans question asked to Charlie Kirk. We are discussing Lance Twiggs. See what else I could get out of this and find out more. Investigators were seen carrying out paper bags, envelopes, and a personal computer of Lance Twiggs. Lance Twiggs. Come on in. JLR investigates. Everything is falling into place, folks, about the situation. And now we have a Lance Twiggs. I'm going to continue to look here. Okay, so they were carrying out paper bags, envelopes, and personal computer. A forensics team photographed the exterior, worked their way inside the apartment. While they worked, neighbors stood behind police tape watching in the South Utah desert sunshine. Another resident, neighbor of them, by the name of Josh Kemp, 18, told the New York Times that Robinson would always blast music with his roommate and never talk to anybody. Antisocial? Just him and his partner inside that house, blasting music, hanging out with their gamer friends on Discord. You know, another classmate spoke out in the last 24 hours and said that Robinson was like a Reddit guy. A Reddit guy. He said a Reddit guy. Motive, it appears, has been revealed, folks. The motive from this appears to be because of his trans roommate. I mean, they haven't revealed it, but hey, we'll share out there that he had a trans roommate by the name of Lance Twiggs. Wasn't there a football player named Lance Briggs? Lance Twiggs. That's an interesting name. Twiggs. Lance Twiggs. Lance Twiggs. Appears they went to school together, around the same age. Some wild stuff. This is some wild stuff. It's continue to go on. The residents said that they would always blast music in their apartment and never talk to anybody. Oliver Holt told the paper when he knocked on Robinson's door last week asking for odd jobs, the alleged shooter was acting pretty strange and kept glancing back into his apartment, acting kind of nervous and scared. A Zillow listing shows photos of Robinson and Twiggs' apartment at the Fossil Hills housing complex in St. George, a 1,460 square foot space with 3 beds and 2 baths. How did he get that? I mean, but it's not that much. The property listing said the current owners has roommates bringing a total of $900 a month for just 2 of the bedrooms. Holy smokes, Zillow they listed the address. It appears to be 3419 South River Road, Unit 73. We got pictures inside what his apartment looks like. Lance Twiggs. Roommate. An affidavit supporting the murder, obstruction of justice, and felony firearm charges against Robinson describes the roommate handing over bombshell text messages to police after the shooting. Here is his roommate's Facebook. Probably will be going down. There you go. Lance Twiggs. Looks like he's a skier. Likes to ski. You know, it's a mountainous region over there in Utah, Wasatch, Park City. Sure, there's other ski resorts. They live close to the Grand Canyon. They live close to the Grand Canyon. Shooter's motive. Looks like they went to school together. Him and Lance. Robinson sent messages to Twiggs, who was not named in the law enforcement filing, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point. So Robinson was telling Lance Twiggs to go get that gun. Where was Lance Twiggs at the time? Will Lance Twiggs get charged? Considering I didn't hear anything about Lance Twiggs turning this guy in. So there was a massive manhunt for at least a day before a local preacher or some sort of pastor found out it looks like him and got it back to the dad, or the dad. I'm a little confused about how that transpired, but the point is the dad turned him in. I didn't hear anything about Lance Twiggs turning him in. And if Lance Twiggs was getting some text beforehand saying, retrieve the gun, then Lance Twiggs knew what was going on and kept silent. Why isn't Lance Twiggs arrested, charged? Lest he's offered him 100% immunity to turn in and testify against his lover, Tyler Robinson, his lover. I mean, to me, that sounds like he's complicit. And the fact that he's transgender seems like the motive here. It seems like he's complicit too, Lance Twiggs. Robinson allegedly texted about leaving the rifle in the bush. Messages related to visibly watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referencing to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope in the rifle being unique, the affidavit says. Messages from the contact, Tyler also mentioned that he had changed outfit. He's telling Lance Briggs everything in these texts. That seems like an accomplice to me, but hey, they're saying that he's the only one, yet Lance Briggs knows about all these text messages about outfits being changed and retrieve a gun. What does that tell you? Why? And we're at the jail right now. We're at the jail where Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson is being held without bond. The affidavit does not accuse Twiggs of any involvement in a crime. At his parents' home on Friday afternoon, Twiggs's father, Tyler, said no one in the family would be commenting. Well, that's interesting. Twiggs, Lance Twiggs' dad is Tyler Twiggs. I mean, I'm gonna do the database right here and look up a little bit about Lance Twiggs. Sometimes when these people are in their early 20s, they don't pop up like that. He does, though. He pops up. Not much on him except, him living with his parents. The Samarin address that they were searching. Well, the younger the person is, they don't have much paper trail or anything like that. So I'm going to put in Lance Twiggs and see what we can get. Find out some information. Put him in the database now. Oh, yeah, he's in there. Lance Twiggs, St. Gerard. Lance S. Twiggs. And his dad's name is Tyler. Imagine that. Lance Twiggs' dad, his name is Tyler. He's Tyler too. A bunch of Tylers. Lance Twiggs. Yeah. He's listed as the apartment complex that they were searching. 3419 South River Road, Unit 73. That's where authorities were at. Public knowledge. Authorities were out there. Videos are out there. Authorities went to the apartment complex Friday morning. So another thing I found interesting about Tyler was he was arrested at 4 a.m., according to arrest records, and then booked at this jail here at a little bit before 8 a.m. Now, this jail here is about 3 hours and 45 minutes away from Washington City, Utah. I believe they arrested him around 4 a.m. Friday morning and then ushered him up Interstate 15, put him in this jail right before 8 a.m. The timing is right there, and booked him, and he's sitting there. And he's there. I thought he was going to technically stay down there at the Washington County Jail, but that looks like a little rinky-dink place. No way. Going to put him up here where he's charged. He's the most high-profile inmate in the United States of America right now. This is literally the most high-profile person in the entire country right now that sits in prison. I think he's more high-profile than Luigi Mangione and Sean P. Diddy Combs, who sit both in the Metropolitan Detention Center, New York City. Lance Twiggs, I got some info. So, Lance Twiggs, his dad, mom, there's a bunch of Twigs. Oh, he got a criminal record, no proof of insurance. Got pulled over August 21st, 2024. He didn't have proof of insurance. But he doesn't have any other criminal record or nothing like that. That's not a criminal. That's just a citation. That's a traffic violation. Lance Twiggs. According to the records I have, he doesn't have a social media presence, though we shared his Facebook page. Who is these people? Lance Stephen Twiggs. Lance Stephen Twiggs. Let me see what else I can get on him. Lance Twiggs. Daily Mail put it out there. Daily Mail is the only one that has it. Here's another. How many people around the country is Lance Twiggs? Young pianists and piano just other than video games. Okay, so how old would he be? All right, so let me ask you something. Yeah, this could be him. Larson Pianos. Brigham, Utah. How many other Lance? Orem, Utah. So here's a video. This is Lance Twiggs 11 years ago playing the piano. It's him. This was posted 11 years ago. Let me make sure there's no music. I'm going to send this over to you, Magnolia. Lance Twiggs, I found him playing the piano 11 years ago. It's clearly a Utah account, and 11 years ago would make him 11 or 12. 10 years old. Twigs. Lance Twiggs, roommate. Now I'm also seeing if he has like a, let me see if Lance Twigg is on Twitter. Sometimes people have Twitter accounts. This is crazy, folks. We got the roommate. Nah, you don't have a Twitter. He might have a TikTok. They said he goes on TikTok. That's gaming. Lance Twiggs. It appears Twiggs and Robinson became closer friends after the alleged shooter graduated high school. He received a $32,000 scholarship to Utah State University, but only attended one semester in 2021 as pre-engineering major. He later enrolled at Dixie Technical College in his hometown of St. George and was a third-year student in electrical apprenticeship program. That's all we got on Lance Twiggs. There's a YouTube account, Tyler Twiggs, a kid playing a piano, Lance Twiggs. Yeah, I found that, Samron. Thank you. And I found that before reading your comment, but you brought it, you put that out there before I was looking, I just found it. So you probably did the same thing I did, was like starting to Google around this guy, trying to find some info on Lance Twiggs. Who showed the police the Discord messages? Lance? It appears so. Lance is the one that was communicating and back and forth with Robinson here. Lance Twiggs, roommate, transgender. Here he is. I got a video of him playing the piano 11 years ago. This was posted 11 years ago.
My name is Lance Twiggs. I am playing country concerto for young pianists. And I like piano because it gives me something other than playing video games to do with my fingers.
almost done. All right, so we just wanted to play that. That was him 11 years ago. Lance Twiggs. He said he played piano instead of video games. This is that was him back then. See how people grow up. See how people grow up. Now he living in an apartment with Tyler Robinson, and Tyler Robinson assassinates Charlie Kirk. And Lance Twiggs, that you saw there when he was younger, was exchanging messages with Tyler. And here we are. Why isn't Lance Twiggs charged? Should be charged? If he's cooperating, like they said he's doing, cooperating with the FBI, does that excuse him? Does he have any responsibility whatsoever? Was the motive of what Tyler did is because of his boyfriend, Lance Twiggs, who, by the way, they're saying that Lance Twiggs there, and that clearly looked like a little boy, looked like he was a boy. The reports coming from Fox News and the New York Post is saying Shane Reed says it's relevant because it shows a shift. Absolutely, it's relevant. Absolutely, it's relevant. But the reports by Fox and New York Post saying that he was a male transitioning to be a female. He had everything brought up right, and Trans-Tifa indoctrinated him with hatred. I mean, I already have a nickname for him already. Lance Tifa. Lance Tifa. Lance Twiggs. Lance Tifa. Lance Tifa. But yeah, I mean, it's the same. Listen, we got to have a conversation about these universities and institutions. Another thing, though, is like we've said, previously. Well, it was reported right from the beginning, really, the memo that was out, the leaked memo that Steven Crowder had from the DOJ, basically saying pro-trans and pro-Antifa, gun. The fact that the trans question was asked about mass shootings right before Kirk was shot. The LGBTQ multicultural center at that particular university being shut down just months prior. Utah's new law banning DEI initiatives at public universities. I think it was a combination of it all. Plus, Tyler discussing with his family prior how he hates Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk goes to universities, engages with students, dialogue. Charlie Kirk doesn't want DEI in schools, universities, public institutions, right? But he's also peacefully wants to debate and try to help people, try to give people advice. And he was a communicator. Charlie Kirk wasn't a violent person that I ever seen. I haven't seen any viral videos of Charlie Kirk acting like a jerk or an a-hole or, I haven't seen it. Have you? Have you ever seen Charlie Kirk get in a fight with anyone? Have you ever seen Charlie Kirk's scandal? No, I haven't. Man, his wife speaking last night, Erica, powerful, right? Powerful. She's hurt. She's hurt. I mean, Trans-Tifa, Antifa, picked the wrong person. Picked the wrong person. Who can rally around killers like this that do this? A party? You can't. You can't. And I truly believe that this has created millions of Charlie Kirks. Or you could arguably say red pill. Red pilled a bunch of people. People have been red pilled. One of the classmates of Tyler was saying that Tyler spends too much time on Reddit. Just reads, gets in this cocoon, the certain safe space, and just listens to a bunch of nonsense and then just tends to believe it. And then acts out on a certain stranger because what others have said online about Charlie Kirk in this echo chamber. This echo chamber. Yeah, Charlie Kirk was for the First Amendment. Charlie Kirk was for peaceful debate. He's saying you need to communicate. You need to communicate because if you eliminate communicating with people and differences, one, that's fascism, and two, it leads to violence. If you stop communicating with people you're different with, and it starts different beliefs, whatever, it tends to destroy civilizations. It tends to, he even quoted genocide. Genocide. If you fail to communicate, there's no communication between parties. You could head to very, very dark times. So why would this guy do this? Because he's protecting his trans friend. He thinks that the world is going to come to an end with trans people around the country. I didn't see no indication of that. Listen, in this country, you're 18 or older. You can be whatever you want to be. Might not like it, but you can be whatever you want to be. I don't think that's ever going to be taken away, per se, right? I told y'all, the most discriminated people on the face of the earth or in the United States is not trans. It's not African American. It's not white. It's felons. Honestly, it's felons. Felons are the most discriminated people in the United States. Felons. They're the ones that can't get a lot of opportunities because of mistakes they made. We are outside the Utah County Jail. Lance Twiggs has been identified as the shooter's roommate, lover. MK Ultra, nice to see you. FBI has Lance Twiggs as their task force mole for plea deal. Okay. We expect federal charges to be filed on this guy based on the fact that FBI was searching the parents' home yesterday, took the vehicle, and who knows what they're going to get out of that. But I think that's the last step before some sort of federal criminal complaint filed, maybe as early as today. Maybe it's already been filed, and we'll see it Monday, post on the docket. Another thing I just want to share, though, is another friend. Let me get this out here. I got the affidavit too, but we don't need to go over the affidavit. By the way, the affidavit is like, you literally need, like, I was trying to read the affidavit. I had to go like this. I had to go like this because it is so small, and I'm having problems with my eyes anyway. Man, it's so small. You got to like read the affidavit. It's tiny, isn't it? It's tiny. But I wanted to get, because another friend put out some information about him being, let me see if I can find it here. You know, about over the years that Tyler would go towards, you know, far left. Like he grew up Republican, but then he went far left. What else will be revealed? Keeping the conversation going with this, Lance Twiggs. Now, will Lance Twiggs eventually come out, say anything? Are people going to go start targeting Lance Twiggs at this point? Should they? We don't support any violence on this channel. What about the parents of Robinson? Oh, wow, there's another video of Lance Twiggs playing the piano. Yeah, there is a Tyler Twiggs. Yo, he was on YouTube literally a decade ago. This kid was on YouTube decade ago. Just a kid. Got freckles on his face. Holy smokes, he might be in the apartment complex that he oh, that's strange. Looks like he's in the Utah apartment complex. He's playing with paper planes. He's riding bicycles. Lance Twiggs. I think Lance is going to get charged, personally. Maybe not on the state level, but on the federal level. Maybe reason why Lance is not Magnolia. Throw Lance Twiggs' photo back up on. That's for people that are coming in the chat so we can see these group the lovers here. The lovers. Shooter and his lover, Lance Twiggs. Now, maybe, possibly, the fact that he was exchanging texts back and forth, the state's like, nah, we're not going to charge Lance Twiggs. But the feds will. And usually when it comes to cases, you know, on this significance, people are going to be demanding answers. The feds will probably, you know, I could think about some other cases too, you know, but not on the federal level. But we could talk about Colin Gray, dad, when it came to the Appalachia High School shooting last year in Georgia. Dad got charged. Dad got charged. When, you know, I think the Crumley case set precedent for state charges on murder when somebody does a mass shooting. Dad got charged, right? Give him access to a gun when he shouldn't have a gun. Notice that Colt Gray was on Discord making those crazy threats, school shooting threats, year prior. And then we look at Samantha Rupp now. Don't forget Samantha Rupp now. Samantha Rupp now was communicating with a bunch of people, one in San Diego and another in another state, But the dad, Samantha Rupnow's dad, got charged too in connection with that terrible mass shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. You would think, and here, Lance Twiggs could get picked up any day. Did Lance Twiggs follow Charlie Kirk on social media? That's a great question. I don't know. I'm looking at Lance Twiggs's social media account now, profile. I'm shocked that it's still up. Oh, he's already getting people are starting to comment on his Facebook page already. Your roommate is a demon and your religion is a cult, somebody said to Lance Twiggs on his Facebook account. FBI needs to arrest you ASAP. Your partner, aka lover, Tyler Robinson, is going to love prison life. Bubba in a tutu. One person said you knew or participated in the death of Charlie Kirk. May God have mercy on your soul. People are ratioing Twiggs and so you better, if you're gonna copy it now, you better copy it now because this thing's gonna be gone. This thing's gonna be the comments are open. People are rapid firing right now. I'm looking right now. People are rapid firing Lance Twiggs' Facebook account right now. His comments are open on his last post, this post, the skiing post. TikTok, somebody says, Lance Twink, you need to private all your accounts now and fast. Your name is getting thrown around on the news. Someone warns. Someone said Lance Twigless. One person said it's not too late to turn your life around, dude. Yeah, they're going at Lance right now. Right now, as we speak, Lance Twiggs. Probably some people watching here and were like, Lance Twiggs, let me go over there and check out the count. But yeah, if Lance knew, Lance in big trouble. And I personally think, I mean, if he's communicating with Lance and saying, Lance, come get the gun, Lance knew. These who, they're probably, you know, I'm not going to claim 100% that this guy committed a crime, but come on, folks. Come on. Come on. Roommate, lover, transgender, lover, travels 4 hours away to go kill Charlie Kirk and then telling Lance things to do and instruct him to do things and communicating back and forth. Lance knew. Lance knew. You know what? If Lance knew what Lance should have done, if it was Tyler's plan, but who knows? It might have been Lance's plan. I'm going to do it for you, Lance. I'm going to do it for you. But here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Like, if Lance had any win, just like any of us, if we had any win that a family member of ours or a friend was going to do a mass shooting, you have a moral, ethical, and legal obligation to inform law enforcement ASAP. You have to. If you know a crime is about to occur and you turn a blind eye, particularly when it comes to a mass shooting, an assassination, Lance is cooperating with the FBI doesn't mean he's not going to get charged. But you have an obligation to turn that person in. I'll give Tyler's dad credit for he had no choice, but he turned his own son in. That's probably very hard for anyone to do, but he did it. He did it. But he also probably knew if he didn't, he's in deep doo-doo, considering it's common sense nowadays. They're charging family members as accomplices or aiding and abetting, obstruction of justice, harboring a fugitive, hindering an investigation, things like that. Lance knew. Let's be real. I suspect Lance knew. You telling me that Lance didn't? They look the same? Huh? Sky Valadez. Remember Sky Valadez wrote the song Charlie Kirk Dead at 31 on soundtrack? Lives in the Salt Lake City metro area. Now, that might be wrong because, as you know, this is down there by St. George. It's 4 hours away from Salt Lake City, but whoa. Man, that looks pretty similar to me. Does those people look the same? Do those two people look the same? I'm at a loss of words. We were told to match them up and put them up, and we put it up on the screen, and wow. You can't say 100% that those two people are not the same. You can't say that right now based on, unless you know them. If all of us on the internet, all of us all around the world, and people watch JLR Investigates from around the world, if you line these two people up right here, you cannot say 100% that those two are not the same. You just can't. Man. They look the same. Look very similar to me. Holy moly. Now the Sky, let me see, Sky, because Sky Valadez sounds just like an AKA, like somebody made up that name. That's not somebody's birth name. It's just not. No one's gonna have Sky Valadez being born in this country. I just don't see that. There's other pictures circulating of Sky, so I'm not so sure. I don't even know what to think anymore because, during the course of this, they've been putting out so many names and faces. For instance, at the time they put out some guy with brown hair that looked like Tyler, and he was debating Charlie Kirk, and they were insisting that was Tyler. And it ended up being some other guy from another state, like Oklahoma or somewhere else. And this usually happens all over these cases. People put info out there. But nevertheless, the person on the left writing songs wishing upon someone's death. It's not good. And I believe that many of these youths around the country are so indoctrinated thinking Charlie Kirk is a Nazi. And Charlie Kirk's going to exterminate them. And Charlie Kirk's going to, kill their existence. And, and Charlie Kirk's put out there as an evil monster that's going to destroy them. And they've been told that, or they listen to people on social media. Right? Crazy. I don't think, I don't know. I don't know if I can't say it 100%. Is it the person? I don't think so, but hey, it's for all you to decide. That is for all of you to decide and see for yourself. But I'm telling you, it's like, whoa. Let me see what else is being shared about the revelation that Lance Twiggs, is the shooter's only old videos. I'm trying to see if there's any new videos of Lance Twiggs with anyone. Man, this is crazy. Yeah, Twigs is gonna get. Twigs is gonna get something. Maybe Twigs won't get the ultimate murder charge, but Twigs is gonna get something. I'm gonna read some of your comments here. A lot of people have been commenting, so I'm gonna go back to some of the comments. I'll start from newest to oldest. Melody McLean. Charlie's wife said they and them. There's definitely more than one. There's way more to this, and she knows. Interesting point. Interesting point. She did say they and them. I'm sure Erica knows more. People, as a victim, family should get all the information before the public, and the victim's family should get all that information, particularly when it's someone lose their life. Now, we learned that's not the case when we covered Moscow, Idaho, with victims' families not receiving any information for years about their killer or what the motive or anything like that, because they were saying they were protecting the integrity of the investigation. This is a whole different animal. You literally murdered someone that was considered President Trump's son. And matter of fact, I tweeted out last night, I said, President Trump was literally the first person to publicly say that Charlie Kirk was dead. I mean, others were speculating. He has to be dead. He has to be dead from that shot. He was the first person to literally say Charlie Kirk was dead. And he was also the first person to say that this person here, Tyler Robinson, was into custody. We have a person in custody. He went on Fox and Friends in the morning, yesterday morning, a little after 8 a.m. I heard it. I was listening. I was watching. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. When I was looking around, saw nothing, nowhere about the shooter being captured, caught, detained, arrested, nothing. Trump said it. So, I mean, you would think, one, the president of the United States is firsthand involved with this as far as understanding the investigation, getting that information, and they're keeping the president of the United States informed about developments. And that they're going to relay that also to Charlie Kirk's wife and family. Erica's going to get some things here. And it should be that for every murder victim's family. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen nowadays because we got into the era where criminals are more protected than the victims. But people are starting to take notice of that. Criminals have more rights than victims' families in crime. They want to protect the criminals and don't give the victims' families any information. How would you feel if something happened to your loved one and no one's telling you anything because they can't? And people are championing around the killer. Or your killer, the person that killed your loved one, your child, your mother, your father, your family member, your best friend, your coworker, has this judicial case dragged out for years. That's one thing we're not talking about with Mr. Tyler here, Robinson, who sits at this jail right here. This is outside the jail where he's from. In reference to Tyler, folks, people are like, okay, he's going to get the death penalty. We know he's going to get the death penalty. This is a death penalty case. Firing squad, federal level, Terre Haute, Indiana, put to death. On a federal level, we're here in Utah, a firing squad, right? People are not talking about this. When, though? When? Because this guy going to have some sort of representation next week when he goes. He's going to have a public defender. And, we don't know who's going to be appointed to represent him, but I'm sure the public defender is going to make some demands or make some requests. Change of venue. My client can't receive a fair trial. We want discovery. Public defender, I doubt it's a paid lawyer. No way this guy's getting a paid lawyer. Public defender for sure. Will I want discovery? We're not getting discovery. Well, you know, look what happened with Moscow, Idaho. Just one of many examples. And we say Moscow, Idaho with Brian Kohlberger because that's a case we covered and we just saw years and years. Some cases take years and years before it even gets to trial. If they're already got the president of the United States calling for the death penalty, why would this guy plead guilty unless he wants the death penalty? Now, there has been defendants across the board that have begged the judge to give him the death penalty. I want you to give me death. But with this case, you know, we might have like a situation where it goes through the process, similar like Nicholas Cruz, and even a different phase to decide, you know, this guy could get convicted or not. My point is, this is not going to be, unless we see something we've never seen in our lifetime and they expedite the process. Unless we get a speedy trial. But I don't think this guy even goes to trial or gets a resolution on this disposition on this case in years, 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line. Then, not pleading guilty to get the death penalty, it's pretty unlikely here. He's going to be found guilty, and then he either just wants the death penalty or begs not to get one. You never know. You might get a sympathetic jury. They did it to Nicholas Cruz. No death penalty. Gets the death penalty. Then what? They're going to execute him the next day? I don't think so. Then he probably sits on death because of the current system. See, over the course of the last 3 or 4 decades, prisoners were getting more and more rights. Prisoners were getting more chances to exhaust their remedy, right? Appeal to the Supreme Court, due process. This guy here is 22 years old. It is quite possible, if he even gets the death penalty, that he's not put to death until he's in his 40s. Interesting, too, I see a lot of people that do support the Constitution, do support the right for someone to get a fair trial and everything like that. They're immediately calling for the death penalty without this guy having due process. So I thought that's interesting because there's been other high-profile criminal cases out there, and everyone's like, well, person's factually innocent. The person has a right to a trial. He didn't do this. She didn't do this. He has a right to a trial. A lot of people now are already saying death penalty on this one. I think this is the exception here. Federal level, he would be convicted. Federal level, death penalty. But what happens if you get this person here? What happens if you get this person here? And we're talking about Tyler Robinson, who's a public defender lawyer, begs to the prosecutor, my client will plead guilty for life. The prosecutor's going to say no? No. He's getting the death penalty. What would happen if this person got life? Would there be public outrage? What happens if Tyler Robinson gets life? Would it be public outrage? He deserves the death penalty. So, we'll see what happens there. We on this channel, we covered the true crimes. We covered the trials. We see the entire process, and it lags. It takes a long, long time for someone to get adjudicated. Death penalty, fine. Sounds nice. I think it's the right sentence here. I'm a proponent of capital punishment. I'm sure most of you are. Some people aren't. If you're not, I don't understand. Some people are like, well, if you take a life, why should you take someone else's life? State-sanctioned murder. Shouldn't do that. Okay. think the majority of people would say if anything would warrant the death penalty, it'd be something like this. Assassinated on national television in front of family and friends in a political assassination, death penalty. Death penalty. And everyone's beating the drum, death penalty, but that death penalty might take years for the firing squad. Maybe not. Maybe the governor, with the stroke of his pen, Governor Cox, who, by the way, Governor and Charlie Kirk kind of went at it before he was assassinated. Charlie Kirk was advocating for the governor of Utah to be kicked out of the Republican Party, expelled from the Republican Party because of policies that the government did that would be contrary to right-wing conservatism. In Utah, Republican governor. Some people don't like the governor. So that will be an interesting element because the governor kind of like took the spotlight yesterday when we listened to the press conference. The governor went on and on and on. The Atlantic had an article. They were like, and even Trump President Trump contacted the, let me see if I can find this. This was an Atlantic article. After that press conference yesterday, let me see exactly where. Yeah, okay. So after the press conference yesterday by the governor, Trump has a warning for Spencer Cox. Yesterday morning, Governor Spencer Cox stood behind a podium in Utah to announce the end of the 34-hour manhunt for Charlie Kirk's killer and a plea for peace in a nation that seemed at risk of spiraling into further violence. Governor went on to say, to my young friends, you are inheriting a country where politics feels like rage. Your generation has the opportunity to build a culture that is very different than what we are suffering through right now. Shortly after he finished, they're saying, according to Atlantic, the president of the United States called Cox. And this is what the Atlantic is saying. President Trump said to Cox, you know, the type of person who would do something like that to Charlie Kirk would love to do that to us. Cox says Trump told him. Trump went on to recite statistics suggesting that the presidency was one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. 15% of the men who held his office have been shot. 8% have been killed. So what Trump was saying to the governor is like, yo, the type of person who would do something like this to Charlie Kirk would love to do it to us. I mean, case in point, 1 year prior, Thomas Crooks. So it's interesting. It's interesting from there. They call Governor Cox not necessarily like far to the right. They call him like a moderate Republican. So we'll see where that heads in that. You know, we're just throwing out kind of scenarios here. I don't know what would happen. I don't know what, you know, this guy, if he goes to the jury and his peers, you know, personally, I also don't trust the judicial system in this country with jury nullification in this country. You know, I'm going to tell you something crazy. There was a couple cases in Washington, D.C., just in the last 30 days, where one, remember the guy that we played throwing a sandwich at a federal agent, the National Guard, when the National Guard came to D.C., he's sitting there yelling at a federal agent in D.C. at night, and he picks the sandwich up and he throws the sandwich and hits the agent, and the agents went over there and tackled him and he got arrested. Well, guess what, folks? I don't know if you remember that, but the grand jury in D.C. made up of the peers refused to indict him. He didn't get indicted. They returned a no true bill. There was also a woman from Indiana, an activist who openly made threats against Trump on social media. And she traveled to D.C. and she got arrested about a month ago. Same thing. Washington, D.C. jurors of their peers, right? Grand jurors refused to indict him. They came back. So that was 2. And it was like, what's going on here? What's going on with jurors not indicting people because they feel like, well, due to the climate, we're not going to indict them. So my point is, in this country, we also have, I believe, a problem with jury nullification and jurors. You know, who's to say? Robinson here doesn't, Salt Lake City area, you know, I don't know the demographics or makeup or whatever like that. Pull a jury. Who's to say that jurors here find this guy not guilty? Doubtful, but it's kind of one of the reasons why Brian Kohlberger ended up making a plea deal. And I don't blame the prosecutor on that sense, considering you don't know who's on these jurors. You don't know who's on these juries anymore. You don't. And I think the situation with the jurors and the jury makeup is going to get much worse. You'll see. Seeing a growing pattern. I don't trust these jurors. Now, some people do get convicted crimes, certain jurisdictions, yes. Keep fanning the flames, JLR. We got a comment. No, we're speaking what's going on in our society and talking. Plus, we wanted to share that Lance Twiggs is the boyfriend of Tyler Robinson. Person you see here, charged with murder, most likely charged on the federal level. Let me see if I can get any additional information. We had a good conversation on this particular segment for sure. Will we all come together in this country? Will the violence stop? I woke up this morning and a police officer was shot in the neck in Georgia. And there's a manhunt underway for a crazy man that shot a police officer in the neck. McKaysville, Georgia, right on the border of Tennessee. Manhunt underway for a 26-year-old. Seems like the violence will just continue and continue. There's an attack on law enforcement in this country. We see it every day almost. Officer shot at, officer killed, officer ambushed. Now, that officer that was shot in the neck appears to be in critical condition, is alive. You know, one thing the governor did say with this particular case was, are we going to spiral out of control and go out into a dark, dark chapter here? I'm very concerned. You know, I don't know if this is going to be the turning point for what. People say this is a turning point. Yep, Chat GPS says Lance Twiggs was a roommate. We pretty much put this out here like instantly as soon as we got wind of it. First, it came with a transgender, and then the Daily Mail actually name dropped Lance Twiggs. Tyler Robinson's roommate, who tipped off FBI, is identified as family refused to deny transgender motive for Charlie Kirk assassination. That's another headline with this. Should Lance Twiggs be charged? Hey, Magnolia, put the poll up. Yeah, we're going to do a poll. Let's get a poll. Poll. Based off what we've learned, the communications between that has been revealed between Robinson and Lance Twiggs, roommate, transgender, this whole situation, should the roommate be charged? We're going to put a poll up. I'd like to hear your all opinion. Some people might say, yeah, some no. Make sure you freely express yourself. We don't judge. This is a forum where all are welcome. You're all are welcome here. Anyone is welcome here, wherever you come from. Tasha, nice to see you. There has been some people have said some very crazy things out there. Crazy things in reference to celebrating, cheering the death of Charlie. It's crazy. What do you think of the January 6th attack on the Capitol? So was that okay? I'm just so tired of this political stuff. Why can't we just get along? Great questions, Danielle. Thank you for the questions. I don't know if y'all are aware, but I was outside the Capitol on January 6th. I was there. Thank God I didn't go in because I probably wouldn't be here. Well, maybe here now. I was there. I was outside the Capitol. I was in the streets of Washington, D.C., January 6th. Got lots of videos. Have not shared my videos. At the time, it was fearful that they were going to just arrest anyone that was around there. I was out there. I was around outside the Capitol. I didn't go in, but I was there. I've seen it. I don't think anyone should go through a building that you shouldn't go in. I think that's trespassing all the way. But I will say, you know, in reference to January 6th, what I witnessed and saw, herds of people just following the herds, going into walking and following the herds. And I'm sure many people on the back of the herds weren't aware that they, you know, maybe thought that they were allowed to go in. Breaking windows and going into the Capitol, I'm not for that. I think people need to be held accountable for that. Breaking windows and busting into a building, yeah. But I also have personal friends that got indicted for going into the Capitol. Personal friends. Some were journalists. Now, I have friends right, left, center. I have all friends, all walks of life. I got friends. I love everyone. Plus, I think that's good for all of us to have different perspectives on different things, right? I was shocked there wasn't much police presence at the Capitol before it was stormed. Not a lot of police out there, considering there was 500,000 people in town that day. We got the poll. We put up a poll. Should Tyler Robinson's partner Lance Twiggs be charged? 67% say yeah thus far. 28%. 30% says not sure. I think 30% want more information. More. I want to learn more. I want to learn more the extent of what these communications was. Also, what did Lance Twiggs say back to Robinson in reference to stashing the gun or beforehand or the, you know, what about there's a treasure trove of, what about there's a treasure trove of other additional things that we don't know about, like communications where Lance is fully aware of what Robinson was going to do, or even guiding Robinson. But you would think if that's the case, Lance would be charged already. There's also a federal crime and statute called misimprison of a felony, which is knowing a crime but not reporting it. They do have that on the federal level. Misimprison of a felon. So we'll see what happens. But, the poll's out there. Another thing is too, also, with the level of communications they had with each other, it might take days, weeks, months to really get that. They could have been speaking on encrypted apps. The federal government, because it's still a fluid situation, right? The arrest went down yesterday morning. It is the weekend. Maybe the feds need to start subpoena records, subpoena these service providers, and subpoena whoever their phone services, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, whoever, Discord, Facebook, Discord, whatever, and get the subpoenas and find out exactly IPs and communications. Maybe some of that stuff has been deleted too. If it is revealed that, they might seize some phones and then go in there and see if anything has been deleted. If things have been deleted after the fact by Mr. Lance Twiggs, then Lance Twiggs could be charged with something similar to that. Destroying evidence, obstruction of justice. Did Robinson do this crime for Twiggs? Did they plot together? I don't know. The information is out there. It's pretty scary. Are there others? He's charged with aggravated murder. Some people are wondering why Twiggs isn't charged with or Robinson charged with terrorism, or Twiggs. But we don't know what Twiggs did yet. We just know that Twiggs is the roommate. Now, if you get fully cooperation, hey, federal government also makes the deals with the devil. Co-conspirators, star witnesses, and make deals for immunity and sometimes not. Sometimes the federal government makes deals where somebody pleads guilty to like a C plea. C plea. Set sentence, set charges because of level of cooperation. Cooperating. I mean, what's being put out in the media is cooperation. So if you're cooperating, maybe Lance Twiggs has a lawyer, obtained a lawyer. Maybe family got Lance a lawyer. I don't know. Maybe Lance is just cooperating without a lawyer, which is probably not advisable, but where is Lance Twiggs now? Back at the apartment complex they lived at, 3419 South River Road, Unit 73. The 1,400 square foot apartment, 3 beds, 2 baths. Zillow has it. It's pretty impressive apartment. It's nice. I'm gonna read some of the comments here. Sir Westo. The same people always crying about more empathy and compassion suddenly have none. The same people who whine about separating a family. It's not hypocrisy anymore. Their demonic evil is exposed now. Thank you for the comment, Sir Westo. John P. Thank you for the comment. Utah governor was 100% correct. The governor was trying to calm things down, turn the temperature down, turn it down. But isn't that what Charlie Kirk did? Try to turn the temperature down. try to just go to these universities because he knows what's happening at these universities and trying to communicate with people and have conversations. Isn't that what Charlie Kirk was all about? Peaceful, constructive debate. Yet look what happened to him. Crazy. Elizabeth, thank you for the comment. Says groupthink is dangerous. Groupthink is dangerous. Think for yourself. Yeah, it's crazy because yeah, it's crazy. Groupthink. Tasha. There's someone in the chat laughing at Charlie's death. Anyone that laughs about Charlie's death, why? What's so funny about Charlie's death? Seriously, what is so funny about someone dying like that? I mean, I don't think that's a funny matter at all. Probably, Tasha, someone's trolling because honestly, I can't see. Well, I mean, have you all looked on Twitter and X? There are people out there that literally like put their face out there and saying it's good, he died, and saying crazy stuff and laughing and hoo ha ha. It's sick, but something's not right in their head to think that, because it's just weird that they would put their face out there on social media to say that. Probably people in the chat laughing now, most likely trolls. They wouldn't be out there doing it with their face out there, particularly if they got careers and stuff. You know, I saw something crazy yesterday. Did you see yesterday Office, I want to make sure it's not Office Depot or Office Max. Make sure I got the right one. One of the office places, right? Let me just get this because they put out a statement. Office Kirk. We'll make sure I got the right one. Office Depot. Did you see Office Depot? Did you see that? Did you see that crazy clip where someone went into a Michigan Office Depot to have a Charlie Kirk flyer printed for a vigil, only for the employees to refuse to do it because they say that the posters of Charlie Kirk was political propaganda and refused to print them. That is crazy. To play the gatekeepers. We're not going to print anything on Charlie Kirk. It's political. Well, they got fired. Office Depot. I didn't make sure I had it right. I want to say Office, the other one. Office Depot put out a statement. We are deeply concerned about an incident that occurred at store 3382 in Portage, Michigan. The behavior displayed by our associate is completely unacceptable and insensitive, violates our company policies, and does not reflect the values we uphold at Office Depot. We sincerely apologize to the customer affected and to our community for this regrettable situation, because what happened was they got refused service. So FedEx came to stepped up and said, we'll do it for free. And FedEx did it for them. Office Depot says, upon learning of the incident, we immediately reached out to the customer to address their concerns and seek to fulfill their order to their to seek and fulfill their order. We also launched an immediate internal review, and as a result, the associate involved is no longer involved with the organization. So the person got involved. There was probably like 3 of them there, but they said they fired some. We are committed to reinforcing training with our team members to ensure our standards of respect, integrity, and customer service are upheld at every location. Our customers and communities deserve nothing less. So, that happened at an Office Depot. But again, there's people out there, and it looks like people are getting fired, for like TMZ, the backlash at TMZ. Now, I don't know, with TMZ, people are like, boycott TMZ. They were laughing. They claim it was a police chase when they announced that Charlie Kirk died. That's all up for you to decide. I don't know either way. But TMZ was raked through the coals. I think they kind of weathered the storm a little bit. But, they were saying people were laughing at TMZ when It was announced that Charlie Kirk got killed. People in the background of TMZ were clapping and cheering. They claimed that they were watching a police chase. However, people are saying police chase, they broke in to announce Charlie Kirk. So I don't know the truth or not. But it's things like that. I think we're in a different era now, like different than it was before 2020. Because I'm seeing serious people getting backlash and fired for even celebrating or cheering the death of Charlie Kirk. So that should be just a reminder of anyone out there that think it's funny, you think it's laugh and stuff like that. You do have the right for freedom of expression, right? First Amendment, right? But there is consequences. And if you have a career or job, there's a good chance if you publicly put yourself out there celebrating a death of someone like this, you might get fired. Or you'll definitely be shamed on the internet. The internet's forever. Lucy Stokes, thank you for the comment earlier. Edwin Vasquez, thank you for the comment earlier. Grandma Dar, if you're still here. She's the one that said Grandma Dar put Lance and Sky's picture side by side. I think they look the same. They'll have to be looked at more. Appreciate that, Grandma Dar. Nice to see you. Crystal D. Canada first rally in Toronto right now chanting for Charlie. They've been chanting for Charlie all over the world. We are all Charlie now from Canada. Now, there was a massive protest in London. I think it was more about legal immigration, but there were people in the streets of London today supporting Charlie. I've seen them in South Korea supporting Charlie. Canada, I've seen people in Canada supporting Charlie. So it's a growing "We Are Charlie, I Am Charlie" movement out there. Teddy, if you're still in the chat, appreciate that. Thank you. Allie, if you're still in the chat, thank you very much. Reading some of the old comments. I didn't go through them all. Just want to acknowledge. I am Lana. Does this mean the dad or the minister gets the $100,000 reward? Let me tell you something about the $100,000 reward. I saw in a report, I don't know where, but the dad that turned Tyler's dad refused to accept that $100,000 reward. Like the media said he didn't want it. I don't know if he would have got it, the dad. That would be some really rotten for the dad to say, the dad of Tyler considering this, to say, hey, by the way, could I get my $100,000 reward? No. I think he refused it. Pamela Bailey, if you're still here, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, we got the UK, the vigil last night. We got this. I wanted to share a little bit of this. They were in the UK last night. There you go. So yeah, they've been all over the place, all over the country, and I think that will continue to grow. Plus, they've got a funeral coming up sometime next week. We don't know details on that yet. You know, how it will be held, where it will be held. It will be open to the public, or private, or a quasi, both. Don't know the extent of that. So some of the big things I think that will probably be coming up in the next couple of days. One, more information revealed on who the shooter is. More about, the shooter's role here, if any co-conspirators here, like Lance Twiggs, if anyone else gets charged, if Robinson gets charged federally, what's going to happen Tuesday when he goes to court? We're definitely going to cover that on Tuesday at court. Other people are starting to come out, like classmates and neighbors, and speaking. I made a video on that. Probably more people will come out of the woodwork in the next day or two to share a little bit about more insight about him. More stuff I think will be revealed. Now, I'm wondering if the president of the United States, Donald Trump, will make a trip to Utah. We'll see there what happens there. And also the funeral, and just the judicial process in general. So, we'll stay with it. I think we've covered what we covered today, and we'll just go from there. But this is a live shot. Well, not live shot, but this is a shot outside the jail where he's being held, Utah County Jail. And, we'll go from there and see what happens. So with that being said, JLR and Magnolia Investigates going to end with a tribute to Charlie Kirk. We'll talk soon. Be safe out there. If any new information, gets put out there, you'll hear it here on JLR Investigates. Stay safe, everyone. Oh, by the way, what's the end result of the poll here? What's the end result of the poll? We got the poll. Let me just see here. End result. We'll end the poll. 64% feel like 64% or 63% feel like charges are coming for Lance Twiggs. 31% not sure yet. And 5% say he's cooperating or don't know. So we'll see what happens there for sure. Lance Twiggs, transgender roommate, or not roommate, but partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, has been revealed. All right, folks, JLR Investigates, leaving with the tribute. Stay safe out there. We'll talk soon.
We're active in about 15 campuses, and we're growing very, very quickly. And keep in mind, this is not just a flash in the pan movement. We're going to become an institution to give them the power and the confidence to stand up and let their voice be heard. I started this organization when I was 18 years old. I decided not to go to college. I didn't get in my dream school, which was the United States Military Academy at West Point. I have this idea to galvanize and motivate the future youth of this country around a core set of ideas, not just political parties or politicians. And the ideas are really: America's the greatest country in the history of the world, Constitution is the greatest political document ever written, and free enterprise is the most assured way to lift people out of poverty and create prosperity for all. Those are the three big ideas. And I think that's something that can win.
We as Christians are called to go into the public arena to correct error.